One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. A metal mayhem that will never die. With engines roaring, he paves his way. A legend in the making, day by day.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a beautiful hump day Wednesday. Let's get it, man. Good morning. All right, we got a lot to discuss, as we always seem to be doing every single morning. We got a lot to discuss. So Trump warns Iran, as well as U.S. strikes 20 targets over there in Iran, as well as tensions rise. So let me go ahead and break down what we're actually going to be looking at this morning. First, we're going to be discussing this. Iran shot down U.S. helicopter. U.S. must respond to this attack. Now, you guys heard me explain yesterday what was happening in the regards to that downed helicopter. No one knew at the time that it was breaking. The mainstream media, everybody didn't know. It was kind of a card that Trump used in his back pocket where he knew about it, but told the media, well, it's not the biggest deal. They're safe. And he kind of downplayed it, but he did that on purpose. It's interesting to see how he responded the way that he did. Then we have Carmelo Anthony is found guilty of murder in Texas track meet stabbing. So he's gotten sentenced 35 years. And so he only will have to spend, basically half of that, and which is like 17 years. And then he'll be available for parole. Anyways, that is that. We have all of the discussions of the actual story here. We're going to discuss here in a minute. U.S. strikes Iran after crash of Army Apache helicopter. Jesus Christ. Let me go ahead and read this. We are now learning the U.S. military has reportedly begun strikes against Iran following the crash of U.S. Army Apache helicopter off the coast of Oman. U.S. Central Command said in a social media post that the strikes would be, quote, a proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression, end quote. This comes as President Donald Trump previously vowed that the United States would respond to the downing of a helicopter. All right. Then there was a wild high-speed chase that happened over there in Los Angeles. It happened yesterday, and I happened to be watching something else in the media, something in regards to Iran. And then I saw this as a headline from Live Now, and I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. I'll go check it out here in a bit. And I never did. So we're gonna find out together how this high-speed LA chase, it ends with gunfire between the suspect and the police. So you can obviously tell that he's probably no longer with us. Anyways, then we have U.S. launches new strikes in Iran in response to that downed helicopter. As you guys know, we actually retaliated on a whole bunch of shit. We retaliated, 20 different locations. And that's what our next thing is U.S. hits 20 targets inside of Iran. Tehran threatens to retaliate. And then we have Trump, just 2 hours ago, by the way, Trump close to ordering new strikes on Iran, quote, pay the price, he says. Then we're looking at just about a couple hours ago here. Trump says Iran will pay the price, obviously, like I just said, but this is coming out from a different report from the Fox, the actual Fox News side, where Trey Yanks has been, we've been following a little bit of what he's been posting. Anyways, and then we have another thing from, most definitely, we're probably going to end up hearing from that whole panel on Fox. Full-scale Iran strikes back on the table. So we definitely have a lot to discuss this morning. There's a lot going on. But first, let's go ahead and do our call to actions, and then we'll get into the madness. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it. And it's free to do so. You know what else is free? Is hitting that subscribe button. I'm a little slow this morning, so you're going to have to just bear with me. And listen, this is what we do Monday through Friday. And, of course, we have members only on Saturday morning. So make sure you guys join up on that. Now, speaking of memberships, please consider becoming a member, starting only at $2.99 a month. We're making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody, but check it out. This is what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. A little side note here, follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, as well as what I'm doing in regards to politics here locally. So make sure you guys follow on that. We also have a Discord server for all of you legends to continue the conversation. We're only on here for about an hour and a half at max. So that's where we continue those conversations. In the video description down below, that's where the link will be found for the Discord. And last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys would like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around. At any time, you can donate to those, and I get 100% of the proceeds. And, of course, I'll read out loud anything that comes our way, just like a normal super chat. All right, so we've got the email up. We're always going to be scanning over here. All right, good morning to all you legends, man. I very much appreciate your guys' engagement this morning. Let me try to get all of you guys. We got Carney Vanguard in the building, as well as Charles Darwin. We got Naomi in the building as well. Always appreciate you. Thank you for moderating for us this morning. Brother VC, as well as Cameron. I'm sorry. We got a Rabbit of Chaos. We got Seymour Cannabis as well. Jack Talcott. Yes, sir. Sending love and blessings. Blessings to you, kind sir. We always appreciate you and hanging out with us. And you always have a great show, by the way. Very entertaining. I don't know how you deal with the characters you deal with, but I commend you, kind sir. We got Prez as well. Good morning to you. We got PJ. Yes, sir. Always thank you guys for being here. We got Vanguard Critters as well as Logical Spark, as well as Big Dan. Thank you guys for being here, as well as Brother Dean Savage. We got Brother Slim as well. Shout out to you, man. It's great to see you in here as well. Let's see. We got Wank in the building. I'd Wank. Nice name, by the way. I see you. We got Gary as well. We got Sick Bastard and the Coffee Crew. Thank you, Motobomb Virginia, as well as Sick Bastard, Carney Vanguard, all of you guys over there that show so much love and support to this show. Daniel saying, great channel, my friend. I appreciate that. We put a lot of work and hard work into this, a lot of time. We got Barbie as well with the 21 months. Wow. Saying all the cool people are members. Join us. That's actual factuals, by the way. You got to listen up. Barbie, thank you for letting them know what it is. And thank you for re-upping your membership for that 21 months. Hopefully you've enjoyed those 21 months. All right, so let's go ahead and pretty much get right into the madness this morning. We've got a lot to discuss, a lot of shit going down. So let's go ahead and get right into this. Let's pop this up, and it says, this is Trump originally on the whole Iran shot down U.S. helicopter. U.S. must respond to this.
Welcome back into Live Now from Fox. I'm Ryan Schmelz. We have some breaking news to report here. That is, President Trump has put on Truth.
I always got a question for this guy.
Why are you gay? You are gay.
I'm just asking the question.
Social that the Iranians have shot down one Apache helicopter in the Middle East. President Trump saying this on Truth Social. I have just been informed by our great military that last night the Iranians shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz. There were 2 pilots involved. Both are safe and uninjured. Nevertheless, the United States must, of necessity, respond to this attack. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So some major breaking news there announced by the President of the United States on his Truth Social account that the Iranians have shot down a United States Apache helicopter that was patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz, and there will be a response. We don't know what that response is, what that response is going to look like, but certainly this is going to set off a pretty big chain reaction on Capitol Hill and across the world, potentially too, that there could be new escalation coming from President Trump and the United States military related to Iran, as President Trump once again put on Truth Social. This, I have been informed by our great military that last night the Iranians shot down one of our highly sophisticated Apache helicopters while patrolling over the Strait of Hormuz. There were 2 pilots involved. Both are safe and uninjured. Nevertheless, the United States must, of necessity, respond to this attack. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, we'll get to some other news here, and when we have some more updates on this, we will certainly bring that to you. We have a potential press conference going to take place here in just a little bit on Capitol Hill, but that's just one of the many.
And it looks like we're probably going to end up hearing a little bit from this. So let's go ahead and they don't actually have anyone come out during that. So we'll move on, and obviously we have a lot to discuss on that Apache helicopter there. All right, so we're going to be discussing Carmelo Anthony guilty of murder in Texas track meet stabbing. As you guys have probably most likely been following this, this has been a big, major national story for sure. It's not something that I really have shown an extreme amount of interest into, because we discuss, geopolitics and world news and stuff like that, American politics, of course. But we do discuss breaking news, as you guys know as well. That's what we do here. And I also tell you, if I ever bring something up, I try my damnedest to follow the story. So we're making an exception a little bit to hear what is being reported on this, being he got 35 years. So
joining us right now to break down all of these developments that we've learned today is former federal prosecutor and legal analyst Nima Rahmani. Thanks so much
for being
here live now from Fox.
Thanks for having me, Anna. Great to be here.
Of course. So just as this verdict
guy too, every single time this guy comes on here, I ask the question,
why are you gay? You are gay.
Just saying.
Comes out, what was your immediate reaction? How did the jury ultimately come to this conclusion?
Well, this was a very quick deliberation, 3 hours, and I think it's a testament to the strength of the prosecution's case. But frankly, the fact that much of the evidence wasn't in dispute here. I mean,
other wild card. Good morning to you.
Really, there was a question of, was Carmelo Anthony shoved with one arm or two? What was the
chatting with Stacks? Yes, sir. Good morning.
Weight difference between him and Austin Metcalf? Was it 50 pounds or 100 pounds? Did he have a right to be in the tent? Was it normal to go into a rival team's tent? But really, it's a question of, was his use of force reasonable and proportionate? Because it has to be objectively reasonable. And this applies in every state, not just the state of Texas. You can't bring a proverbial knife to a fist fight. And this wasn't even punching. This was pushing and shoving. And I maintained the whole time that this was an unnecessary escalation under the circumstances. Stabbing someone in the chest just because you've been shoved is not self-defense under the law, because it's not objectively reasonable. You shouldn't have a knife at a track.
No, yeah. Objectively, what would be reasonable is maybe a pushback or even a punch. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. But stabbing, come on, man.
Event. I know the defense was arguing that it was a tool and not a weapon, but I don't think that really resonated with the jurors. And of course, the fact that they were sequestered means that they wanted to wrap this up as quickly as possible and get home. So big win for the prosecution.
Motobomb, Virginia, good morning.
I think the only chance that the defense had
as
in
well
this
as
case
Joker,
would be if Carmelo Anthony testified. And if he testified that he believed,
all you legends coming in all at once. We've got Easy Frank as well,
that he was at imminent risk of death or serious bodily injury. If he was able to convince the jurors that he was genuine in his fear, even though it was unreasonable under Texas state law, that would have reduced murder to manslaughter. And that sentence would have been 2 to 20.
And that's what I thought he was actually going to get. I really did. Honestly, I'm not following the case like that, but I objectively thought that he was going to get manslaughter. Now, the jury was basically given, like, he can serve all the way up to 99 years. You guys decide what you guys want. And so the jury decided on 35 years, and he has to spend half of that good time, and that would be 17 years, and then he would be available for parole. So anyways.
Many years. But when Carmelo Anthony did not take the stand, the jurors were with really an all or nothing proposition. Was this reasonable? Was it not? And when it was not reasonable, there was only one reasonable verdict, and that's guilty of first-degree murder.
And do you think keeping Carmelo Anthony out of the witness box was the right call in this situation?
I do not. And I know he would have been subject to a grueling cross-examination, and I understand why the defense did what they did. Some of his statements did come out during the prosecution's case that, he told Metcalf not to touch him, that he was acting in self-defense. But the conventional wisdom in these cases is if you're going to present a self-defense argument or defense, you have to take the stand. You have to explain to the jurors and look them in the eye why you believe that you would be killed or why you believe that you would suffer serious bodily injury. I don't think there's any reasonable.
Yeah, and a shove from that kid is not warrant. It doesn't warrant like, oh yeah, he's trying to kill you or something. That would warrant a knife.
World where Carmelo Anthony thought that he was going to suffer serious bodily injury. There was a lot of other kids there. There were coaches. I know maybe he thought he was going to be jumped. He was surrounded by Metcalf and his twin brother, but nothing had reached the point where he was going to be severely physically assaulted. It was just a push. The response was disproportionate. You don't stab someone in the chest simply because you're pushed. And I think the result would have been the same regardless of the race of the defendant and the victim. Obviously, a lot of people have talked about this all-white jury, and I'm not naive. I mean, the racial overtones in this case, can't be ignored. You have Black Panthers, you have Proud Boys outside that courthouse. But if you're just looking at this and you're colorblind.
Yeah, well, if you're a part of any of those organizations, you're not going to be allowed on any jury on anything. Okay, that's how that works.
I do think this was the just result, and the result would have been the same regardless of the race of the victim and the defendant, or at least it should have been.
We've been talking about how quickly things moved in reaching this.
Okay, that's enough of Carmelo Anthony. We gave way more than enough time. We have other shit that we need to discuss. I'm not here for content. I'm not here to race bait. I'm not here to do any of that shit. So nonetheless, we're moving on. So this is when it was breaking yesterday. U.S. strikes Iran after crash of the Army Apache helicopter. So let's go ahead and Apache. Let me go ahead and bring this up. Here we go.
We are following some breaking news right now. Take a look at this X post on your screen coming from U.S. Central Command saying CENTCOM forces began launching self-defense strikes against Iran at 5 p.m. Eastern time today at the commander-in-chief's direction in response to yesterday's downing of a U.S. Army Apache helicopter. The mission is a proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression. So this breaking news just coming in, AP saying.
What's up, Tiffany? Good morning to you, by the way.
Just in, the U.S. military says it is launching strikes against Iran after Trump vowed response to the downing of an American helicopter. So once again, that breaking news just coming today. And Trump had said.
Yeah, no worries on that, Brother Steve. I know that you're dealing with some hardcore shit right now. So make sure you give Brother Red my condolences, my man.
Earlier today that the U.S. must respond after Iran downed the U.S. Army helicopter near the Strait of Hormuz. He blamed Iran for downing that U.S. Army helicopter on Tuesday, and he said the United States must respond to that attack. And we're just getting this breaking news in coming from.
And we did respond.
From U.S. Central
we
Command,
have that.
Saying those forces started launching the
Boomer, my man. Good morning.
Defense strikes against Iran at 5 p.m. So once again, the U.S. military announced that it has started those strikes against Iran following that crash of the U.S. Army Apache helicopter off the coast of Oman. In a statement posted on social media that is on your screen right now, U.S. Central Command said those strikes would be a proportional response to unjustified Iranian aggression.
Well, they struck 20 different spots. So let's go ahead and move on because no need to discuss something nonstop on something that we have the updated info on. Anyways, quickly, let's go ahead and bring our attention into something wild. There was a high-speed LA chase over there. Well, there was a high-speed chase over there in LA, I should say. The chase ends with gunfire between the suspect and police. So you can probably imagine that motherfucker probably still ain't here on this planet, right? So let's go ahead and bring this up, figure out what's going on here. This was happening yesterday, and I just happened to be so consumed with what was breaking with Iran that I couldn't watch this at the time, you know?
Okay, we were watching a police pursuit that ended out with a shootout in Southern California earlier today. It was in Boyle Heights. Watch this for about 45 seconds or so. You're going to watch as this suspect who was being pursued by police, he was leading them on a high-speed pursuit through surface streets in the Los Angeles neighborhood.
And by the way, we don't have this sped up. Anytime that we have like moving parts, like people or cars or anything like that, if it's not just monologue, we don't speed it up on purpose because we want to see things happen in real time.
You'll see him crash into...
Boom, there he goes.
A barrier there. The suspect taking off on foot So we see the suspect, and we were watching this earlier this afternoon. We see him running away. This is not uncommon in police pursuits to see a suspect run. Here's where it gets even more scary.
He pulled
you start
something.
To see this suspect.
Yep. He pulled a gun. Now he's shooting. He's already doing pop, pop, pop right there, dude. So hold on. At first, it looked like I was about to call it out. It looks like he's reaching, and he was.
Uncommon in police
pursuits. Right there. He's running and trying to get that gun out.
To see a suspect run. Here's where it gets even more.
There it goes. He pulls it out right there.
Scary. You start to see this suspect. He pulls.
He just shot a few
something
times.
Out, and that's when we started to see him
He's shooting
with that gun.
And then he got shot right there
because it was shortly after that we saw the
that's when he dies.
Suspect fall to the ground, seemed to be injured by officers. The LAPD police chief, Jim McDonald, he took to the microphone.
We got Miss Lotus, by the way. Good morning to you.
Just moments ago, he gave us our first on-camera update about this police chase, about the ending of this police chase. Let's watch.
Well, thank you, and thank you all for being.
Yo, Cameron, you just gave me a really good idea for this upcoming members only for this Saturday. Maybe we'll do a special on like shit like this. I think it would be great to do like high speed chase, the craziest high speed chases of all time. I think that's what we're going to do this members only.
In here this afternoon, just after 2 o'clock this afternoon, we had a pursuit initiated after Newton area. Officers spotted a man with a gun in a vehicle. They tried to stop the vehicle. The suspect then fled, and a pursuit ensued. The pursuit started at Washington and Alameda and ended up here, right down the street behind me at Garnett and Marietta in Hollenbeck Division. The suspect crashed into a fence right adjacent to the freeway here, got out of the vehicle and ran. Responding officers were closing in on him at that point. Suspect got out. As he was running, he was firing on the officers. One officer was struck.
Well, he wasn't really even firing. I'm surprised I even struck somebody, because if you guys saw the way that he's running and he's just like randomly like bop, 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 you know what I mean? I didn't think that he was going to hit really anything, right? But I guess he did.
In the chest at least once.
Wow. He actually did strike an officer.
He had a ballistic vest on, which saved his life. The suspect continued to fire at officers. Multiple officers fired at him. A suspect was shot. LA Fire Department responded, treated the suspect at scene, and transported him to a local hospital where he's currently in critical condition in surgery. Our officer, thankfully, has been evaluated at the hospital, but it looks at this point like he's going to be okay. So we're very, very thankful. Looking at the suspect's actions, he was firing that gun. Anybody in the community could have been taken out by his actions.
Yes, and that was extremely reckless, because you see him, he's just like unloading. I mean, he just dropped that mag. He probably had maybe one round left in his mag. Maybe.
So we're very thankful that we ended up in the situation we did. Our officer put everything on the line to try and take this suspect into custody, supported by other officers from Newton and Hollenbeck Division. And we're very, very fortunate to have the end like this with the officer in the condition he's in.
Right,
so
alive.
Thank you. Let me open it up. We did recover a gun at the scene right where the suspect went down. That's being processed. The scene is being processed by both Force Investigation Division and Robbery Homicide Division. Let me open it up. Any questions?
You know, I really don't know what the actual bullshit over there in California is. I think what it is if you're found at the time, I think the discussion was about 30 round magazines. And at the time you could only have 10. I think now you can have 30 now. I think you can have them because of a constitutional level. I don't know. I don't live there anymore. But what I do remember correlating to like per bullet or whatever was if you had a 30 round mag and you can only have a 10, well, you have 20 bullets in there, 20 rounds that they could stack each one of those as an extra charge. So, yeah. Or if he wasn't supposed to have a gun at all.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many shots were fired. There's a lot of casings out there. I don't know how many at this point. It's very preliminary yet. Suspect, from what I saw in a video, he fired first. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we just saw the video. The guy was definitely shooting first. There's no anyways, we're not going to get any more information out of that. We just got primarily the majority of information that we could suck out of that anyways. All right, we still got a lot to discuss about this helicopter, this downed helicopter. So U.S. Launches new strikes in Iran in response to that downed helicopter. So let's go ahead and bring that up quickly. Let's go ahead and do our money part. We haven't done that. Let's get it out of the way. You know what I mean?
Right, just get the money part done.
Of course, it would glitch out.
Right, just get the money part done.
Give me money. Money me. Money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Now that is actual factuals, ladies and gentlemen.
Denied.
But I still love you guys. All right, let's go ahead and bring this up. 3, 2, 1, bam.
Welcome back into Live Now. I'm Austin Westfall. U.S. Central Command, the U.S. military's social media account, saying that today the military carried out strikes on Iran in response to the crash of an Army Apache helicopter that President Trump is blaming on Iran. U.S. officials told the AP that the helicopter went down after colliding with an Iranian drone. Let's bring in retired Marine Intelligence Officer, National Security Analyst.
What's up, Brother Beaker? Good morning, by the way.
And the host of the Strap Podcast.
Hell yeah, they're bringing on Hal Kempfer. Let's fucking go. We're going to actually get some fucking facts here. That's why I actually like having him on anytime, because he actually brings facts.
Hal Kempfer, he's here with me. For those that are watching this segment on YouTube later in the day, Hal and I are talking right now, just before 9 p.m. Eastern time. As we have this discussion, we are under the impression that the U.S. is continuing to carry out strikes. Hal, what's been going on at this hour?
Well, multiple strikes, as you know, 7:30 p.m. last night, their time. We had an Apache helicopter that was on patrol off the Gulf of Oman going in the water. The 2 crew members survived, and they were rescued by an unmanned surface vessel.
Correct.
Which is really.
And I actually have what he means by that. It's a drone. It's this badass drone boat. It's an unmanned boat, and that's what they sent in to go rescue those 2 guys, which is awesome. I guess it has 1,000 nautical mile range that it can be controlled from, which is amazing. I mean, that kind of technology is amazing. And I have that actual information for you guys if you want it. But nonetheless.
And seeing one of our Corsairs, about 24-foot vessel, completely unmanned surveillance vessel, went in, they climbed up on board, and then from there they were further extracted in combat search and rescue.
Yeah, she's kind of like, right now she's down by my feet. Well, she was but by my feet, but she's, you know, with this angle and this I've got this green screen right behind me. I don't know, she's like timid to get on the back of my chair. So yeah, she usually lays down here by my feet though.
Techniques, and nobody was hurt or certainly nobody died. But it looks like the Apache was hit by possibly a Shahed drone from Iran. Now, the Iranians have not claimed responsibility for that, although their rhetoric was so over the top, you'd have a tough time kind of sorting through it to figure out where they did not claim responsibility, but they have not. And we responded with a...
Now, what ended up happening, Hal Kempfer actually missed something there, and that's probably just at the time of this reporting. So the IRGC, one of the main, you know, military, whatever officials, they were all saying that they did not do it. They didn't shoot down this Apache helicopter. But then another faction, like a whole different faction of not the IRGC, but well, it is over there in Iran. They said, "We'll do it again." They were like, "Hell yeah, we did it, and we'd do it again." That's exactly what they said. So yeah, brutal.
Proportionate response.
So they did do it.
Kind of reluctant to open up kinetic action, but he said we had to do it. And he hit a series of places around the Strait of Hormuz, Keshem Island, Bandar Abbas, Sarik, another location a little bit further behind Bandar Abbas. And now, of course, the latest one, they went down south to Jask, which is a naval seaport as well.
So as we discuss, we're hearing reports from Axios that there's been multiple waves of U.S. Strikes in Iran. Is the ceasefire still holding? I mean, how do we answer that question tonight?
Right.
I think that's how this thing was shaped by President Trump. You could tell from his language, what he posted, that he said, look, we kind of have to do this. We have to respond, but he didn't want to do it in such a way that would be a significant.
Well, I think he also wanted to get and garnish all the facts. I mean, he was waiting for basically the Pentagon to give him a report of what happened there.
Breach of the ceasefire, you know, a significant escalation. And so he responded. They hit just target.
What's up, Blake's Pipe? By the way, I'm looking for a video, so don't mind me for a second. I'm looking for a specific video.
That were tied to very military targets, places where they could possibly launch drones or radars, things that were very much tied to what the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard Corps, is doing on the water. And so it was very, very much scoped in. And they didn't go well inland. They didn't hit around Tehran, didn't do anything like that. But it was meant to respond, but not to escalate, if that makes any sense.
Al Kemper with us. We appreciate the quick hit. It's certainly worth tracking.
Yes. Okay. So now I've got this. Let me go ahead. I got the guy's channel up. Let me go ahead and bring this up, and so that we can discuss it real quick. It is right here. Let me pull this up. Let me go ahead and 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Hot again overnight as Tehran launched more than 20 ballistic missiles at Israel in response to IDF strikes.
Now this came out yesterday, like a whole day ago. So just remember that part.
Strikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Now, while President
will it actually show the boat in this? Because that's why I brought it up. Because that's what I thought. That's what he was showing. Damn it! I picked the wrong video. Of course I did. All right, give me a second. Give me a second here. Let me go ahead and exit out of this. And we'll go ahead and bring this up first on the next report, and I'll still try to find, because it looks like he deleted the video. Anyways,
welcome back into live.
This is on the regards to the U.S. responding and hitting 20 targets inside Iran. Tehran is now threatening to respond on top of that.
From Fox, my name is Bone Kadrovich, and we are keeping up with the latest with the ongoing developments over in the Middle East with those continuing conflicts there. We do have this expost here, courtesy of the Associated Press. This says the U.S. military said Wednesday it had completed its airstrikes on Iran after an American helicopter crashed off Oman that it blamed on Tehran. Bringing you out now to a live look over Beirut, Lebanon, as we continue to follow the latest here, as President Donald Trump defended U.S. strikes against Iran Tuesday, calling the response very strong and very powerful after Tehran.
Yeah, it looks like he did take down the video. Well, he probably got forced to take it down. I'm not sure why it happens to YouTubers, but
reportedly shot down a U.S. Army Apache helicopter. So we're just wanting to bring you some of the latest.
I just wanted to show you guys that drone boat, that unmanned drone boat that they can control for 1,000 nautical miles. I think is awesome, and it shows the company. He showed the company. He showed who makes it. He showed the model of it, and showed it actually being used in a test practice. But unfortunately, it's no longer there.
What we have when it comes to the ongoing developments that we're following, as U.S. Central Command said late Tuesday that American forces completed strikes on Iranian air defense systems, ground control stations, and surveillance radar sites near the Strait of Hormuz. With that, we do want to bring in our expert now to talk the latest about this, Bill Raggio, who is a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Bill, thank you as always for coming on the program. So, with Iran is responsible for shooting down a U.S. Apache helicopter Tuesday, and President Donald Trump claimed in a Tuesday on Truth Social.
We all agree with you, Robert. Majority of us here agree with you, so you don't need to preach your rhetoric. We're not talking about what ought be, and we're talking about what is. And yes, we do know that the United States is in Israel's war, that they, so just absolutely.
Leave us now to find a diplomatic solution, as now we see the U.S. now hitting 20 targets inside Iran.
Well, I don't think we're any closer or any further than we were the day prior to the helicopter being shot down. President Trump has been stating from the very beginning, since the active military operations, if you could call it that, halted in mid-April, that we are days from the ceasefire. We're now almost 2 months from.
We never were days from the ceasefire. You know what I mean? Come on, man.
Stop the cap.
I called that out on Trump yesterday. And even if we did have that kind of timeline, why would you say it? It's an unnecessary timeline to say, because you're not going to let down necessarily the Iranian people. You're going to let down your own people. That's what's going to end up happening. And it backfires. It always does. Because they're like, oh, I thought you said 3 days. And now it's like fucking 15 days later. See, why do you do that?
That date, I think President Trump has set the expectations far too high for an agreement with Iran. The Iranians do not look to be cowed in this situation. They took a massive military hit. Yet we have to look at the facts on the ground. The Strait of Hormuz remains closed. The Iranians are still willing to target shipping when they deem it necessary. They're still willing and capable of targeting neighboring countries and U.S. assets within the region. They still have drones. They have missiles that they launched at the Israelis. To me, when I look at this, what I see is an Iranian regime that is stalling. They've successfully linked any type of agreement and this ceasefire with an end of hostilities between Israel and Lebanon, which is a massive mistake from the Trump administration, because that conflict will not end anytime soon.
Oh, no, it's all these timelines have been bullshit. All of them. And I've called it out from day one. You know, like, oh, we're only going to be there for, 3 weeks, 4 weeks or something like that, 2 weeks or whatever the case. I called cap back then. So I've been hypercritical on Trump and as well as this war.
So all of this to me looks like a regime that is stalling for time. I believe they can outweight the United States.
Yes, by the way, you guys don't have to like all the craziness that's happening around the world, but you guys can hit that like button, double tap that screen for me, what we do here on Insane Wheels. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
And then I did want to bring this in from U.S. Central Command that says forces completed self-defense strikes against Iran June 9th at the commander-in-chief's direction in response to yesterday's downing of a U.S. Army Apache helicopter. CENTCOM forces struck Iranian air defense, ground control stations, and surveillance radar sites near the Strait of Hormuz with precision munitions.
So these are basically the 20 spots that they're discussing what they're doing.
U.S. Air Force and Navy fighter jets. The operation was a proportional response to recent attacks on U.S. forces and international commercial ships transiting regional waters. U.S. forces remain vigilant and postured to defend against unjustified Iranian aggression. And you said just here a moment ago that the Iranians or the regime rather is.
You know what's crazy about it is 47 years ago, the United States knew that what is Iran's biggest play? Well, they can shut down that strait. That's literally been why no one handled them for 47 years, because they always knew that the threat of shutting down global shipping could happen right there. And that's the part that's why there was so much hesitancy. Sorry for being a retard. That's why you saw that. So
it's really stalling.
It's an unfortunate situation.
These ceasefires, have these ceasefires that have been implemented here over time have been effective in your analysis?
I think they've been completely ineffective. The ceasefire was supposed to open the Strait of Hormuz, and it hasn't. The Strait of Hormuz remains closed. The Iranians are not permitting ships to go through. The ships aren't going through because they believe that the Iranians can and will attack them if they attempt to navigate. So that to me right there shows the failure of the ceasefire. Now, keep in mind, that's an act of war. The United States is also conducting an act of war, even though the Trump administration doesn't want to admit it. A blockade of a country is considered an act of war. So I don't understand how we can have two nations committing active wars, and yet somehow we're in the and there is active firing near daily.
Okay, real quick. Virginia Chaos did find the unfortunately, I don't think it's a video. But let me go ahead and pull this up for you guys. This is what saved the two service members that were on that helicopter that went down. This is what saved them right here, was this drone boat. Look how fucking badass that thing is. Damn. Hold on. Let me see if there's anything else there isn't. So they're calling it, okay, it says on Monday evening, a U.S. Army AH-64 Apache helicopter went down near the Strait of Hormuz off the coast of Oman. Thomas Novelli of Defense One reports that a Saronic Corsair autonomous surface vessel located and recovered the two downed aviators. This is marking the U.S. military's first publicized use of an unmanned boat to rescue downed air crew in real-world warfare. Because they did show a video of this thing being used, and it is sick. But anyways, I was geeking out on that boat. So here we go.
And yet somehow we're in a ceasefire.
Thank you,
so,
VC.
In my estimation, it's a ceaseless fire. The firing does not cease. That's what I'm witnessing in Iran right now. I don't see a quick end to this conflict. The Trump administration needs to reconsider. It doesn't seem to want to escalate and return to that military force where it killed the head of the Iranian government. It decapitated many of its key leaders. Now they have been replaced. The Iranians, in my estimation, I want to reiterate that the military operation was a major success, but the ultimate goal of a military operation is to achieve a political outcome.
Right. And see, that's the whole thing. You can come in with all the military munitions and all of that and really rule on that kind of front. But then what kind of outcome are you looking for, though? Because right now, the outcome is, as of right now, the strait being closed. And that's what we knew was going to happen. I mean, everyone knew that.
And we haven't achieved that because I don't think this regime has suffered enough pain. They have to suffer more in order.
What's up, TNT, by the way?
The
Good
United
morning.
States to get what the Trump administration to get what it wants, which is, surrendering the nuclear program, ending support for the militias. Those two things are key, and we're not even talking about those things anymore. We're talking about reopening the Strait of Hormuz. So,
right, exactly. We're not talking about all the other objectives at this point, aside from them not having any nuclear power or nuclear weapons, right? Weapons grade uranium or any of that shit, enrichment, all of that stuff. They're what do they call it? The dust. They need to go collect it and destroy it or whatever, or destroy it on site. But all the other objectives that were basically wanted out of the whole first operation, we only got 1 out of the 4 objectives done.
One way of saying we are far from a ceasefire. I don't believe that it was ever successfully implemented.
That's right, Carney. It is hump day. That's a fact. W hump day, by the way.
And then when talking about the demands that the Trump
the uranium dust
administration is looking for with Iran, like we said, to not pursue nuclear ambitions, are the Iranians ever going to agree to some of these non-negotiable terms laid out by the Trump administration?
I don't believe that this regime can agree to, particularly to the two key issues, right?
And I think what he's about to get to is totally correct. I can already tell where he's going with it. The thing about warfare, it's not just a military front. It's not, like I said, it's not just munitions. It's not just your power of force. There's warfare is very psychological, and and there's different ways to negate people not having. It's basically people that don't have as much munitions, don't have as much defense, all that shit. They have different ways to fight back. And maybe that's on an economic level, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Now, are they watching the death of their own country at the same time? Absolutely. But they're willing to do it. That's the kind of the thing.
Dismantling of the nuclear program and an end for support of these terror militias throughout the Middle East. That'd be Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, the bevy of Iraqi militias and other terror groups in the region. The regime has put nearly $1 trillion since its inception 47 years ago into these programs. It's defined itself by spreading its Islamic revolution. They do that outward with the militias, as well as creating that nuclear shield for the Iranians. That would be its nuclear program. If it bends on these two key issues, particularly via military force, then I don't believe the regime that its leadership can survive this. So I don't.
Yeah, no kidding, Beaker. I would think that we would just sweep it up and keep it for ourselves or some shit. But basically, the administration said that we want to destroy it on site, preferably. And if not, then we can have it done by one of our people with oversight and all this shit, whatever.
See how they can be convinced to surrender these two key aspects of its foreign policy, of its political and military programs.
What's up, brother Kel up there in Canada? Good morning to you.
It's going to have to either be coerced to do so, which I think we saw the first round. That was not enough coercion.
Now, that is absolute facts, by the way, Texas Gidget. That's 100% true. Trump does play warfare on a psychological front as well. Absolutely.
The military force that we applied, despite the Iranian Navy being on the bottom of the sea and major military infrastructure being destroyed and key leadership being killed. Or, to me, the biggest failure I think that I've seen here is a failure in an inability to support a regime change here, right? If you want to ensure those things.
Well, we're not going to see any real peace of any sort if the IRGC stays as their regime, just period. That's just the way it is. They're not going to cower. They're not going to negotiate. They're not going to do any of that shit. That they're going to stick to what they've been sticking to, honestly.
Don't happen. You need to replace this regime. And there has not been an effective.
But if we force a regime change, see, this is where it gets really fucking dicey. If we force that level, it unfortunately, it's going to come down to boots on the ground. where we actually do a land invasion. And that's something I'm absolutely 100% against. I really hope that we don't get to that. This regime change bullshit, I understand why we need to do, why the people want that to happen on certain fronts. But man, regime change in the Middle East, we have not succeeded once. We've succeeded in other parts of the world, but the Middle East,
resistance inside of Iran. I'm not talking about protesters coming out in the street. I'm talking about an armed resistance that is willing and capable of overthrowing the Iranian regime.
Dragon Classic,
Iranian
good morning.
people, in my estimation, do not seem to want to initiate a civil war, and you're not going to. In my estimation, this problem will not resolve itself until this regime is gone.
And then I did want to bring in this.
Well, and he just said it too. He just said it right there too. So this is the AP coming out yesterday saying Kuwait says its air defense are firing after Iran said it targeted the Mid-East nation to retaliate over U.S. airstrikes. And yes, their air defenses were firing off quite a bit yesterday.
Associated Press. This says Kuwait says its air defenses are firing after Iran said it targeted the Mid-East nation to retaliate over U.S. airstrikes. So would we see other countries like Kuwait say that they're firing air defenses as well?
I am Waman. I like that name, by the way. Great to see you in the chat, by the way. Good morning.
So could we see possible other nations in the area start to get involved with this as well?
Well, I haven't seen the Kuwaitis launch offensive operations. The air defense missiles are attempts to.
Wen. I thought it was Wemen. That's funny. I thought it was Wamen. But hey, appreciate you. Anyways.
Shoot down the missiles that the Iranians are firing into Kuwait. Same thing with Bahrain, the UAE, the Saudis, all of these countries.
What's up, Jack? Good morning.
Have come under fire. Even countries that are friendly or that have been friendly with the Iranians, the Qataris and the Omanis, have suffered missile attacks from the Iranians. Now, what we haven't seen
big time
them do, except for in some specific.
And honestly, Kuwait has been kind of slacking on them defending themselves. Honestly, even on the front of like taking down drones or taking down missile attacks or whatever. Real quick, let's see what Trey Yingst is saying right here.
And saying the Iranian foreign minister after the U.S. strikes tonight saying, quote, "Our powerful armed forces will leave no attack or threat unanswered. Leave our region if you want to be safe." Now, see in this quote and just in your analysis.
There it is. Look at that shit. That's from the foreign minister of Iran.
Of where we're at now, and we know that with this conflict, this has really spiked energy prices for people across the world. Do you see a light at the end of the tunnel here with this conflict and with some of these quotes that we're hearing now?
Yeah, it's brutal. We don't need to hear any more from dude. We still got a lot to get through this morning, and we're already 47 minutes through. Holy shit. All right. Trump close to ordering new strikes on Iran, quote, "pay the price." Now, this is coming out 3 hours ago. Okay. So we're getting into obviously this morning and stuff like that. So
you're watching live now from Fox. Welcome in here. Live look at the White House this morning as we have a lot of news coming from President Trump as it pertains to Iran. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Christy Matino. President Trump just posting to Truth Social about 30 minutes ago, saying in his words, Iran has taken too long to negotiate and will have to pay the price. We also have Fox News' Trey Yingst, who just spoke to the president on the phone. A lot new information coming in here. But let's start with that Truth Social post up on your screen right now.
Before she reads what Trump posted on Truth Social. I always hate that fucking phrase. Truth Social. Make sure you guys hit that like button, man. Very much appreciate it. You guys don't have to like all the craziness that's happening around the world, but you guys can like it for me and what we do here on Insane Wheels. So thank you for double tapping that screen and being engaged. Let's get it.
As President Trump says, Iran's military is a complete and total mess. Much of it, like their Navy and Air Force, doesn't even exist anymore. They have been completely defeated. Iran is all talk and no action. The bully of the Middle East is dead. They've taken too long to negotiate a deal that would have been great for them. Now they will have to pay the price. President Donald.
Yeah, actually, we won't have an extreme amount of overtime today. We'll have maybe a little bit, but not much. Not today.
J. Trump. Now, I also mentioned here that we are getting in some reporting from Fox's Trey Yingst, and I wanted to just share with you this series of tweets that.
Yo, AU up in the building. Shout out to my man. Hopefully you're enjoying your, your Whip 'em Out Wednesday, your hump day, and always appreciate
coming
you.
Out pretty rapidly here. But this one just posted minutes ago by Trey Yingst with Fox News saying, President Trump exclusively tells Trey Yanks that the U.S. is getting close to ordering new strikes against Iranian power plants and bridges in response to, quote, tapping the United States along when it comes to drawn-out negotiations. The U.S. launched overnight strikes against Iranian-linked targets after a U.S. Apache helicopter was downed near the Strait of Hormuz, hitting roughly 20 sites. Now, also...
Shit.
Some new details in here from President Trump to Fox News that the president also revealed new details about the helicopter incident, saying an Iranian drone became lodged between the helicopter's two pilots. As
that's exactly what I had heard too. When I woke up this morning, I went to bed and it was they shot him down. Okay, well, how did they shoot him down? Well, it came from a drone.
They maneuvered to avoid an explosion. So once again, all of this just coming into our newsroom
Extra
here on
surprise.
Live
Good
Now
morning.
from Fox. A series of tweets here from Trey Yanks. He also said new details will slowly be coming out here as he just had that phone call with the president in conjunction with President Trump, also posting what I just read to you here on Truth Social. That key point, as he said, they've taken too long to negotiate a deal that would have been great for them. Now they will have to pay the price. I wanted to just quickly...
Shit, I got it for you, homie.
You are gay.
Shit.
Why are you gay?
Recap for you here. The latest developments as all of this has been unfolding pretty quickly. The United States launched airstrikes early this morning against Iran after blaming Tehran for the crash of an American attack helicopter. And Iran fired back at countries in the region, which is another escalation that threatened to derail efforts to end this war. Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan, all of which host U.S. troops, came under Iranian fire. It was the second time this week that back-and-forth strikes have tested the ceasefire after Iran and Israel targeted each other on Monday.
I think they said propeller. I think that's what they said. I don't think they said pilots.
And it again raised the question of how much pressure the deal can take before it cracks. I also wanted to share this simulation here of the Strait of Hormuz with you because Iran, meanwhile, has proved resilient despite having faced weeks of heavy bombing, betting that its ability to effectively close the Strait of Hormuz, that crucial passageway, gives it a strong bargaining chip. Both countries seem to be looking for a way to end the conflict if they can manage to sell it as a win at home. But Israeli Prime Minister
Yep, we actually reported on that this morning. We've been following the story a little bit. Truth be told, I'm not really super interested in those race baiting, different cases and stuff like that. And because they're one-offs. The truth be told is I'm discussing world news, geopolitics, all that shit, right? American news, American politics. So yes, it did fall into the breaking news. So we reported on it today that he got 35 years. He has to spend half of it. So he'll spend 17 if he does good time. And then he'll be available for parole after that. So yes, sir. No, you don't have to apologize. No. You don't have to apologize.
Who appears intent
Absolutely
on pursuing much more difficult goals.
What's up, brother Beezer? My man. Good morning.
That's focusing on the collapse of Iran's theocratic government, the elimination of its nuclear program, and the destruction of the Iranian allied Hezbollah militant group in Lebanon. So we wanted to bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox. Once again, President Trump, as he is just sharing this. So we're going to be watching very closely to see if we're going to get any more information from the president. Also, once again, looking to see here if we're going to be getting any more information from Trey Yanks with Fox News. As we did just share with you that Trey spoke to the president.
Yes, and I think that we actually have information from Trey Yanks right here on this next report here. So let's go ahead and bring this up. Trump says Iran will, quote, pay the price.
Yeah, listen to this. That came out on Truth Social. President Trump posted. So Truth Social, just one moment ago. Iran's military is a complete and total mess. Much of it.
I saw this morning I saw this on the White House page on Instagram. That's where I saw it.
Like their Navy and their Air Force does not even exist anymore. They have been completely defeated. Iran is all talk and no action. The bully of the Middle East is dead. They've taken too long to negotiate a deal that would have been great for them.
Right. Now, he will be eligible, I should say, not out. Right. I should have said eligible.
They will have to pay the price.
Wow. By that, Jackie Heinrich joins us live from the White House with those details. Jackie.
Yeah, pretty ominous message from the president this morning, guys. And it comes on the heels of new reporting, shedding some light on what the substance of the negotiations were before the U.S. was forced to respond to Iran's attack on an American Apache helicopter patrolling.
Now, as you guys see here, I mean, this report being, Trump saying literally we'll pay the price. That's why we put that on today's thumbnail, as you guys can see right here. See, we've been upping our game on these thumbnails, you know what I mean? Absolutely. All right, back to the madness over here. All right. Here we go.
Strait of Hormuz. According to the New York Times, the two sides were working on pretty detailed negotiations related to Iran's nuclear program. 4 big points there. First, a ban on enrichment for somewhere between the U.S. demand of 20 years and the Iranian counteroffer of 10. Also, a plan to dilute or downblend Iran's existing stockpile of 11 tons of near bomb-grade fuel.
She definitely is pretty.
According to this report, it wasn't yet clear whether that would be shipped outside the country or downblended inside Iran, but the U.S. would be the only observer. Third, Iran was in talks to dismantle its 3 major nuclear sites that were severely degraded in Operation Midnight Hammer last year, and they were also discussing the need for snap inspections to ensure compliance. The Times writes, the result is what American officials describe as the hazy outlines of an accord, assuming the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and hardline Iranian politicians do not overrule Iran's chief negotiator, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, or torpedo the much more detailed talks that the United States has proposed to hold in Switzerland this summer. All that was upended after Israel and Iran exchanged fire on Sunday after U.S. Army Apache.
So we've actually seen this, the facilities, nuclear facilities map before. As you guys can see the circular, whatever, that's a nuclear site. Then you have uranium. Jesus Christ, I'm having a struggle this morning. Uranium mines. You can actually see that with the little like carts. And then you have the research reactors, which are up by Bonab and Razmir and Tehran, as you guys can see up in the north. And then you've got the military sites as well, or site.
Gunship was shot off the coast of Oman. Its crew was rescued by an autonomous drone. Senate Democrats now raising the alarm over this.
The U.S. helicopter that went down over the
Oh boy, we get to hear from Schumer. Jesus Christ, come on, man.
Is a stark reminder that every second Trump's disastrous war continues is another second that our troops remain in harm's way. Our service members are the best and the bravest in the world.
You don't believe that. I don't think you actually believe that.
And they deserve better than to risk their lives.
Yeah, you're just using it as political talk.
In a
That's
reckless, aimless war. The only sure way to protect our troops is to end this war as soon as possible.
I do agree with that.
Now, according to another report,
we should absolutely, end this war as soon as possible. But we can't just leave the region exactly the way it is right this second. It would be disastrous right this second. Okay, so that's the problem. There's a lot of problems in this.
The president still believes that a deal is possible and it's right on the horizon.
Like, yes, I was 100,000% against this war before it started, right? I said, I pray that we don't do this. And then we did it. Now we're in it, okay? Yes, I was against it and I still am against it, but that doesn't mean that I don't want the betterment and the outcome to be the best for Americans. You know what I mean? Simple. We're there now. I can't personally change it. So, of course, now that we're already there, we have to fucking get out of there and make sure that we do this America only first. America first ideology. In my opinion, that's the way that we should do it.
One U.S. official telling
negotiate
Politico
to get something
nothing changes where the deal stands right now. They also reiterated the U.S. response to Iran.
As far as I know, we don't have any on the ground. Now, I'm sure we do have something on the ground on like maybe a CIA level or maybe a small. But honestly, as far as that, I don't know.
Iran's attacks were proportional, but that message on Truth Social from the president this morning, casting a question mark over that with the phrasing "too late." So we will look into that and get back to you, guys.
Jackie,
Barbie says, Mike, did your past ship travels ever take you through the strait? No. So I was primarily all the West Coast. So everything on the West Coast of the United States, that's really where I worked on the ocean front. Now, I was basically fueling ships that were coming in and out of the ports, obviously. Like if they're coming from China, they're coming over to our side. They're not going to the East Coast of the United States. They're coming to us on the West Coast, right? So primarily I'm dealing with that kind of side of the world, right? So, but yeah, anyways, sorry about that.
Wondering how much of that Truth Social post was about the response that Iran had to our response of them taking down the Apache. So he looks at, they hit multiple bases. It doesn't look like they hit anything right now. We're waiting on Jordan's response, but it looks like Kuwait successfully knocked it down, and Bahrain, they might have been one hit. But maybe he just looked at that and said, okay. And as Mark Montgomery says, maybe it's going to go back to a 400 strike day again.
Could be. And, there's been some debate since all of this flared up over the weekend about whether the ceasefire is holding, what ceasefire.
Right, of course. And the truth is there is still a ceasefire in place. Now, there has been claims from, actually kind of both sides that now there's no longer, well, claims are claims. It may still be on a fragile, on legal, route, like what is on paper. I think they are still in a very, very, very fragile ceasefire. But anything can happen at any time, obviously. But Trump truly doesn't want to have to go back in there and absolutely decimate him. He wants to make a deal. I promise you that. He does want to make a deal, but it's got to be what he wants, right?
Actually means at this point. So still unclear whether this is a discussion about the peace talks or if those are still operating on
Hey, you be good. I appreciate you being in here, by the way.
track while the U.S. response to Iran's attack is operating on another. But we'll be reaching out to White House officials here shortly to get some clarity on that.
Jackie, it seems like we're back to the original red line from the president, which is anytime there's American blood. Now, we were blessed.
Now, of course, anytime that there's downed equipment, stuff like that. Remember, we reported on this yesterday about the downed helicopter, and we didn't know no one did. The media had no idea, and Trump kind of kept that in his back pocket, and he acted like he wasn't going to retaliate, like, oh, but who's to know how much information the Pentagon gave them? Have they totally do the investigation and go, okay, we determine it was a Shahed drone from Iran? Did Trump know that at the time? I don't know, obviously. But either way, he played it like as if he wasn't really going to fucking retaliate. And now there is a retaliation. I mean, literally 59 minutes after he stated that, 59 minutes later, there was an attack.
We were able to
that's when the strikes started happening again.
Get them out of the water, but that could have been.
Oh, you're
bad.
good, Naomi.
And I get the sense that the president
Are you getting OT pay today? Nah. No one's getting that much OT. I'm not even getting OT pay that much.
Them off.
Yeah, and he only has one choice in that situation, which is to defend his red line. I mean, the the president has been pretty tolerant in letting these sort of pinprick attacks that we've seen over the course of this 8 or 9 week ceasefire at this point not derail sort of the broader philosophy that, in fact, it is a ceasefire. A ceasefire in that part of the world, as he said, is when you're shooting more moderately, but insisting that things are still on track and the ceasefire is holding. It sounds to me from reading this and how the U.S. side is framing it that that's how they want to proceed, making sure to reiterate that the U.S. response was proportional to Iran's attack and that the deal is still on track, that the talks are still on track. We heard some reporting this morning from Trey Yanks that some negotiators, I think it was Qatari negotiators, are heading to Tehran to try to resolve the outstanding gaps. And so, with all that moving forward, that said, the president does need to defend his red line that he has insisted is there, which is you attack U.S. troops and
exactly,
and sort of that's the line there, and that's what the U.S. has done. The Truth Social post this morning, though, it does need a little bit more fleshing out.
What's interesting is so they shoot down our helicopter, so we fight back by attacking targets in Iran. Then they retaliate against our bases in Jordan, Bahrain, and Kuwait.
Correct. They did already retaliate.
So now it seems like, based on what
Right. Now they want to retaliate again.
happened after the helicopter, he would retaliate. Donald Trump would decide to do something to Iran, an attack. And what's different about this latest Truth Social, he said they've taken too long to negotiate and they will pay the price.
He did say that this morning.
It's a shift in focus, right, Jackie? Because in the past, it's been if they don't come to the table,
pay the price.
If they don't negotiate, then we will have to basically retaliate. But this one's saying they will pay the price now. It's not a maybe.
Yeah, and we've heard the president say all along that the Iranians are taking too long, and heard U.S. officials explain sort of why that delay exists, just the mechanics of getting an answer from the Iranians with the fractured regime that they have. The other part of that post, though, tells me that, the president is still emphasizing that Iran's military, it has been, in many ways, the conventional apparatus has been obliterated. There are still, as we've heard from U.S. officials, the drones, the types of munitions that are easy to manufacture that will continue to pose a problem.
That's hilarious screen name. What's up, Chud? I see you in here.
But pointing to the Navy being at the bottom of the sea, as he often points out. And so the question for military analysts is, what would it take to get Iran to believe that they are in a position of defeat so that they can come to the negotiating table in earnest and, agree to some of these things? But as the president and as some of these articles point out, there is a distinction between who the U.S. is negotiating with in the political realm, the foreign minister, for instance, and the IRGC, the Council of Advisors.
Well, it was interesting how the IRGC declined that they had downed that helicopter, but then another faction of them came out and said, we'd do it again, motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Bruh.
So anyways, let's go ahead and move on into this next report here. I did want to see this. It says full-scale Iran strikes back on the table. So let's go ahead and bring that up real quick. This came out a couple hours ago.
So right now, tensions are rising.
Now, I really dislike the panel that they host here. I like when they objectively just report on what's happening, but then when they get into their opinion pieces, I really don't give a shit.
In the Middle East, as American allies Bahrain and Jordan say they've intercepted missiles and drones from Iran after the U.S. forces wrapped up their own strikes against the terror regime, about 20 separate strikes. Those self-defense hits in response to the downing of an American Apache helicopter over the Strait of Hormuz by an Iranian drone. So what does this mean for peace negotiations and a deal? Retired U.S. Navy Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery joins us now. Admiral, so they take out our Apache. We hit them 20 times in separate waves, and then they responded again. So is it up to us to hit them?
It's the president's choice here. He's done a good job doing proportionate counterstrikes, keeping CENTCOM, focused on the maritime area around Bandar Abbas, hitting sensors like radars, hitting strike points, hitting stowage points. He now has the choice.
And that is a good point that Mark just pointed out.
If he wants to respond to a strike in Jordan against Al-Azraq and other bases, if they damage things on our bases, I think we'll counterstrike. If they didn't, he has the luxury, like the Israelis did last weekend, of saying, okay, we got ours in. You tried to get at us. You failed. We're going to put a lid on it right there.
Right.
But either way, he has, if he wants to do a proportionate strike, he can. But I think if he's committed if he thinks these negotiations really are as close as he says, he'll probably hold.
Well, you always know Iran's going to respond no matter what you do. They're going to respond no matter what, because we got our bases all over there. And Bahrain is constantly under siege, just like how Kuwait is. It's nuts out there.
Hold off.
The price of oil effectively.
Good morning, Sterling, by the way. Hopefully you're enjoying your Whip 'em Out Wednesday. We got Albert Young as well saying hello. Hopefully you're enjoying the morning as well.
It went up 1%. That's what the president's looking at. But in terms of hitting Iran and letting them know that we hit you with 13,000 separate strikes and it could get worse, how do we send that message and get them more sincere in the talks?
Unfortunately, Brian, I think at some point this is going to probably escalate back up to a full scale, like 400 strike day.
And what's sad about that is I do unfortunately see that happening. I really hope that does not happen, obviously, but just like I said at the front of the ceasefire. The first day, I'm like, dude, I think this is just halftime. This is all being repositioned, renegotiated, and then it's just going to go right back into full scale. And I really hope I'm wrong, honestly.
In the near future, if this back and forth keeps going, at some point you can't just keep doing proportionate strikes back and forth. If they continue to reach out and try to hit ships that are transiting through the Southern Scheme, which is what was going on last week, or they strike at our allied partners' bases, in the Middle East, Kuwait, Bahrain, ones that are much harder to defend because of their proximity, and say Jordan, where we have a lot of warning. If that continues, at some point the president's going to have to do real cost of.
Jordan shot down like 4 things going over into Kuwait, I think, or some shit like that.
And what's called a disproportionate or escalatory strike. But I think the president's trying hard not to do that, Brian.
Can you give me an idea of what
the U.S. is trying hard? It's damnness right now to not do that. That's what I do see as well. I just see it the unfortunate inevitable.
Open up the strait on our own. Do we need allies to help us out and sustain it? Because that's the leverage they have over us right now. Because they are suffering. The blockade's effective. They're obsessed with our blockade on their.
Well, of course. I mean, they are losing a lot of money per day. I mean, we're talking into the hundreds of millions of dollars. Their exports are down 90%. The 10% is going through land up through the north and through the east, and stuff like that. But they're losing money there. They're losing money on their oil. Their oil capabilities where they're pumping what they were doing, producing, is been reduced down to 50%. And they can't export to anything other than just on land.
Air blockade, because that means it's working. But if we open up the strait on our own, we would totally neutralize any leverage.
First, I want to acknowledge you're exactly.
Yeah, I've heard multiple reports on $400 to $500 million a day, but I think the most accurate where we heard under testimony with Marco Rubio, where he was under oath. He said it was about $380 million. That's what he said per day is costing them, 380. So that's close enough, and it makes sense.
You're right. Our blockade is working. Does that mean that they don't have a small tramp, oil or go to a Pakistani port? No. But the stuff they really need to get out, the 2 million barrel shadow fleet, large oil.
I don't think China's going to get involved in anything unless it has to do with Taiwan. That's it. I think that they're happy just kind of continuing on doing what they're fucking doing on their part of the world.
Oil ships are not.
They're the ones that are willing to wait out everybody. That's what they do. They wait.
Getting through to India and China. They're being blockaded by the U.S. Navy. So we are having that impact on their economy. And as to whether we could continue, whether we could simultaneously open up the Southern Strait, I think we could. This is the Southern Transit Scheme closest to Oman. We're doing it with our ships already and limited numbers of a small number of other ships. But what is our risk tolerance in the U.S. Navy? Going through is one level. Right now, a lot of merchant ships.
No, that's true. But these reports, I would say that it would be a little bit more credible than just reports or people just saying on a podium what a number is. I think it's a little bit more, it holds a little bit more water that it was under oath.
Have a higher risk. They're unwilling to take that risk.
But I get you.
So I think we're going to probably have to destroy more of the maritime infrastructure of the IRGC in the Bandar Abbas area in order for the merchant ship companies and the merchant ship captains to understand how safe it is to go back and forth.
And there are reports that we are getting about 20 through a day. We don't want a lot of attention on it, but we're starting to open up in our own way on the Oman side.
Yeah, and so we're going to be following all of it, man. That's what we do here Monday through Friday, and then we have members only on Saturday morning, man. So listen, I can't thank you guys enough for the amount of love, support that you guys show, the engagement, hitting that like button, double tapping that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. I very much appreciate all of you guys. So listen, we're going to be back tonight, actually, for the Diamond Effect around 7:10-ish. We always seem to be a few minutes behind, but hey, listen. That's what happens when you got a panel of guys. But anyways, listen, we'll see you guys tonight. And if I don't see you tonight, we'll see you guys tomorrow morning for more of the World's Menace as we continue down this truth-seeking adventure as we always are. All right. We'll see you guys very soon. Much love, honor, respect. God bless to all you guys. Be safe.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges.